Hello, I'm Anthony Manning, and this is another video in the Ukraine Twinning Voices series. Today I'm joined by Serhiy Sidorenko from Kyiv Polytechnic Institute and Malcolm Butler from the University of Sheffield. Okay, so welcome to both of you. Thanks for joining me today for this next video in the Ukraine Twinning Voices series. I wanted to start by asking both of you to explain a little bit about your universities and where you're based for those people who may not be aware.
Yes. Hello, dear colleagues. Let me at first provide with a brief overview of key features and specialisms of our university. KPI was established in 1898. The origin of the world-known scientific and pedagogical schools in our university were linked with famous scientists of this time. Today, we are the largest engineering school in Ukraine. We have more than 200 professors. Our campus has an area about 400 acres. We have 24 educational buildings, 22 dormitories, and Ukraine Research and Academic Network. The central hub is the base of our university, which unites more than 150 universities of our country and institutes of National Academy of Science of Ukraine. We have over 25,000 students. This is equivalent to quarter of all students in technical university. Our priorities, our engineering fundamental and applied spheres of knowledge. Let me say why we think that our two universities are of good fit. At first, this is strong innovative component in activities of both KPI and UOS, United University of Sheffield. The second, very important, that both universities are equipped with so-called physical technical model of higher education. The third feature is that our two universities are of similar training programs and fields of knowledge. And the fourth, the University of Sheffield is one of pillars of engineering training in the country and a powerful center of cooperation with industry. We see many common characteristics that make our university well suited for cooperation.
That's great. Thank you very much. Malcolm, can I come to you to tell us a little bit about the University of Sheffield?
Yes, of course. The University of Sheffield, similar to KPI, similar history, we have our origins back in 1828, but actually we became a university in 1905. We are a fully comprehensive university covering all topics, if you like, all subjects. We teach for apprenticeships through to PhDs and very much, the fundamental research through to applied work with industry. So a very traditional university that's one of the UK's leading Russell Group universities. Physically, geographically, we're based in Sheffield in the north of England, but very much in the centre of the country, if you don't know where we are physically, if you like. We have over 30,000 students. And we're a very international university. They come from over 150 different countries. That's our students. Of course, our staff equally are very diverse in terms of where they come from. We are like to think ourselves as a truly global university because of that environment that we have and that community that we have of international staff and students, and because of where our research impacts on the global stage, if you like, and addressing global challenges. We have 1,500 world-leading academics who are, of course, research and teaching active. We're known for our world-class research in fields such as science, engineering, medicine, social sciences, and the arts and humanities. So right across the board, we have pockets of expertise that are world-leading in all of those areas. The match really arises very much when we look at the strengths. We're very strong in our engineering disciplines, both from the fundamental and the applied side. And our research strengths, when we looked at the analysis, are very similar to the areas of KPI that Serhiy's already mentioned, but also in the technology and the innovation. And that's why our two universities were felt as a good fit for a twinning partnership. A good match was made, and we're very pleased with how that's working.
Thank you very much. That's great. And yeah, good to see how there's so many of those overlapping features and research and education interests, which make a good fit for those two institutions. So my next question, again, is to ask you about how the war has impacted the operation and continuity of activity at your institute, given the challenges that the war has presented.
Thank you. Let me at first say a few words about how it was beginning. On the morning of February 24, I was working with my mail in the house in the village. At 5:30, my daughter phoned and told that the war was started. For all of us, it was great stress and shock. Until the last moment, we could not believe that so-called brother Russians would start killing Ukrainians. This morning I could not reach KPI because leaving home was emotionally challenging and almost physically impossible because all traffic roads were occupied by one-way flow of people and cars. Russians already attacked Kyiv from the north, so we did not leave the house. 3 days later, we were directly in the area of collision. We had no bread, no electricity, no internet, and we did not know what is situation in Ukraine and in Kyiv. My wife, our dog, and I, under explosions, were hidden, at least psychologically, rather than real safe, in a small cellar near the house. The roof and windows received damage. For 10 days we were in this horror, and however, on the middle of March, patriots saved us. Then I helped my family to find a safer place and then returned to Kyiv to KPI and conducted to perform my functions. In first dramatic days of February, we received more than 300 letters of solidarity from 64 universities from 25 countries from all continents. 41 universities in 22 countries provided grant support for approximately 100 academic staff and our scientists. The staff concentrated efforts on protecting KPI people in building and dormitories, repairing damage caused by missiles and bombs attacks on Kyiv, arranging bomb shelters and supplying them with food, water, and medicine. The staff provided our students in territorial defense units with everything that they needed. By the way, volunteers set up an animal shelter at KPI campus, receiving animals from towns in Kyiv region. Many of our students and staff joined the Ukraine Army, territorial defense units, and volunteer organizations. For today, 69 of our students and staff were given their lives for Ukraine's independence and our freedom. Glory to heroes. 18,000 students, including around 500 international citizens, continue at this time their training. More than 1,000 students remain in the university's dormitory, but as usual, before the war, 12,000 lived in dormitories. It was very difficult to worry rockets fly at our Kyiv while we saw it with our own eyes and could do nothing. Tragedies in the lives of our colleagues who lost their houses and apartments were destroyed by rocket attacks on Kyiv and Kyiv region. There were more than 20 such families. All of them were accommodated on the university. So many of us deteriorated because of stressful shock. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that detail. It's really important to hear all those key messages you shared and the amazing resilience and ongoing activity of KPI. Malcolm, I wanted to come over to you and ask you a bit more about how you became aware of the Twinning initiative and what made Sheffield want to get involved.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from a very practical perspective, clearly in the UK, we could see our news, we could see what was happening in Ukraine, and it very clearly became apparent how that was impacting the whole of the country. So all of the things and the horrors that you see, but also clearly the higher education system and something that's within our sphere, if you like, of influence or ability to aid. And I think from that, there really was quite an interest from our staff in terms of what could we do to help, what can we do as a university, within our capabilities to assist. And whilst that was all happening, we became aware of the twinning initiative through the Twin for Hope campaign, inspired and led by Universities UK International, with support from Cormac Consultancy Group. We just wanted to get involved. So it seemed like a good plan and a good idea. Then seeing what had happened to our peers at Ukrainian universities and the impact and the devastation they had seen because of the war also just further kind of inspired people. Clearly, as a higher education institution, we believe in the power of research and education to change the world. Generally, we think about that on longer term timescales in terms of educating students of the future and research having impact. But clearly here was an opportunity where you could get directly involved and make a difference fairly immediately. For example, things we did like with the support for library access and so on, and things that infrastructure-wise were happening. So we wanted to help the staff and the students in Ukraine, but in the short term with those practical things, if you like, of getting back on their feet and being able to do their business, but also to build long-lasting ties through collaboration, through exchange of ideas, through exchange of staff as well even, so that we can help them with their mission, which I think is very much to carry on as an education system, but also how their education system can help to rebuild Ukraine and support Ukraine once the war is over. That was our incentive to get involved.
Thank you. And I wanted to come to Sehi to ask, how did you find the twinning setup process and how did Cormac Consulting help you with that?
At first, let me say that we were excited to know that the University of Sheffield was determined as our partner. The multi-level interaction with the University of Sheffield began on May 2022. First meeting, I remember it, at the level of vice rectors and heads of international directions was made on 19th of May 2022. And I remember that during this meeting, the main areas, if without details, of our joint activity were identified. And later, both partners appointed co-managers, co-leaders of key stakeholders groups who were to organize cooperation in each of 12 more narrow directions. Concerning the role of Cormac Consultancy Group, we are very satisfied with their cooperation. They play a great role. By the way, Cormac Consultancy Group not only monitors the progress in action plans, not only provide practical assistance, but Cormac Consultancy Group periodically organizes coordinating meetings for all participants of Twinning Initiative. And every time suggest something new for deeper cooperation.
So Serhi, thank you for that. Could you please tell me also a little bit more about some of the impacts that you've noticed at KPI as part of the twinning activity so far?
KPI got a new level of cooperation through the twinning mechanisms and joint projects in space, in education, in 120-hour English course for 100 KPI teachers. In innovation direction, our joint project on transforming the post-war entrepreneurial ecosystem in Ukraine. By the way, KPI startup schools presented our best student startup ideas to investors in Sheffield. I also want to show this very warm photo, which reflects the visit of our startup school to Sheffield, to investors in Sheffield University with their best startup ideas. And of course, this was a very warm occasion.
Thank you. And I wanted to ask Malcolm, from the perspective of the University of Sheffield, what would you say you've learned and how has the university benefited so far from collaborating with KPI in this way?
Yes, thank you. As has been said by Serhi, it started off very strongly from our very first meeting. It felt right from the start. There was a warmth and a connectivity that was felt by both sides, which I think is even more impressive given the relationship was started online because it had to be for obvious reasons. But equally, understandably, the stress that the Ukrainian side of the collaboration must have been feeling at that time. So things got off from a good start there, and I think that kind of relationship has always helped us to drive things through and develop things. And that in itself was a benefit to the University of Sheffield, because I think it gave us a real insight to, if you like, what was happening beyond what we could see on our TV screens, and actually the true nature and impact that the events were having in Ukraine and on our teams. Throughout the relationship, from that very early days to where we are now, throughout that partnership with KPI, we've been consistently amazed and inspired by Ukrainian colleagues through their knowledge, through their dedication, through their hard work, and their credit to their institution, their country, how they are, continuing all that they do in the face of all these challenges. And things that came to us that you don't even think about, like, of course, the impact of having an air raid go on when you're in the middle of a meeting, just purely practical things that don't happen in traditional relationships. While the University of Sheffield has worked with other higher education institutions in Ukraine, I mean, prior to KPI, clearly this close relationship has opened our eyes to the enthusiasm and appetite for learning more about Ukrainian culture, language, society, and industry in Sheffield, both through our university and through communities in the wider Sheffield as a city. We, the university, and we, the culture amongst the city, have benefited from that exposure and that understanding. As he mentioned, we've offered Ukrainian language classes in the UK, as well as English classes in Ukraine, if you like. So that crossover and that exchange is absolutely part of what a university should do in terms of educating not just our staff and students, but the wider population of Sheffield and Kyiv. Certainly when running the collaborative entrepreneurship project under the Sikorsky Challenge Ukraine program that again was mentioned earlier, we were delighted to be able to welcome some of the entrepreneurs to Sheffield and have those conversations and introduce them to funders and so on. But as much as anything, just having the Ukrainian people here in Sheffield was a real privilege in terms of being able to talk to them firsthand and understand what was happening to them, as well as the very practical side of being able to help support and set up startup businesses and ideas and innovation that is something we have some skills at. So I think as a whole, the various teaching and research collaborations that we've established between our two universities, have provided us both with a renewed stimulus and direction for some of the work we already do, as well as establishing new areas of work. Whether we were talking about the early stuff about funding air raid shelters and library access, through to the longer term teaching and research collaborations around nuclear waste or the blast impact and so on, which is just quite frankly amazing to be part of.
Thank you. That's really great to hear. What's really apparent from hearing both of you talk is the mutual benefit for your organizations and people that will clearly have an enduring impact beyond the war that we're experiencing at the moment. Thank you. So you've both described a range of key impact areas from the collaboration so far. My next question is about the next step for the future of your collaboration. What's coming next or around the corner?
I will try explain. I think that we agree to continue cooperation in its current form, because we believe that this is very important to our university. We fully support forms and mechanisms of coordination by Cormac Consultancy Group. And now we are thinking about a number of offers announced by the Cormac Consultancy Group and the University of Sheffield in last year, and new possibilities for this year. And now we are currently working to formalize this proposal. This is exactly that we are looking to forward soon this year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Malcolm, what advice would you give to other universities, either in the UK or overseas, beyond the UK, who might be considering becoming a twin, given your experience?
Yes, thank you. So we know that we can achieve great things when working together, and we absolutely encourage our peers in the UK and overseas to consider twinning and to embrace the scheme and the opportunities that it affords wholeheartedly. Clearly, the initiative starts from the what can we do to help, But as I've highlighted, there is so much we get in return. So I think, our philosophy as a university, and one I would encourage in others, has been to be responsive to the needs of our twin KPI. So I think that's key to any relationship and what others could learn from it. I think we had this great support from our staff and the buy-in from people wanting to do things, and I think that was a key part of making things happen within a university, where sometimes things can move slowly, but actually in this case the driving force was there and the enthusiasm was there, and we made things happen very fast. So I think very much that was something I'd say in terms of others getting involved is explore things, look at them, get stuck in and try them. If they don't work, adapt them or move on to the next thing, because there were so many things that we can do together. I wouldn't underestimate the benefits that your own organization can get back from this, both personally as well as professionally, if that's a valid way to put it. I believe in what's achieved for the University of Sheffield as well as for KPI as our partners.
Thank you very much, and thank you both for sharing your important stories today. It's been really excellent to hear your positive experiences. So thank you very much for participating, and as ever, Slava Ukraini.